What happens after Danvers and Navarro enter the caves? True Detective, Night Country Episode 6 begins with Danvers and Navarro entering the caves of Ennis. They fall through one of the floors and appear to be stuck until they both spot the fossils seen in Annie's video and the star-shaped screwdriver that matched the wounds on Annie's body. Out of nowhere, Raymond Clark appears and startles Danvers and Navarro. They chase after him and discover a ladder that leads up to the Tsalo station. Elsewhere, Pete is cleaning up Danvers' house and putting the dead bodies of his father, Hank and Otis Heiss in the car in preparation for delivering them to Rose to help dispose of them. Back at the Tsalo station, Danvers and Navarro are still trying to track down Raymond Clark. Danvers finds him, but he manages to get trapped by Clark in a room, while he also finds Navarro and knocks her out. Danvers manages to escape by cracking the glass door open and it smashes. She rushes to find Navarro and stops her from beating Clark to a pulp after regaining consciousness and getting the upper hand on him. What happens with Pete when Leah turns up? Pete is completing his cleanup of Danvers' house when Leah turns up. Pete says he isn't feeling good after the separation from Kayla, to excuse his odd behavior after covering up the dead bodies. He tells Kayla he doesn't want Kayla and Darwin to be alone on New Year's Eve and asks if Leah will keep Kayla company, giving him the excuse to take the bodies to Rose. However, when he arrives, he is confronted by Kayla, who wants to know what Pete is actually doing. Pete says he has something to deal with and promises it'll be the last thing before he returns to her. She kisses him and it seems like she's ready to take him back. The blizzard has stopped Danvers and Navarro in their tracks, so they have a break for food before resuming their interrogation and torture of Clark. He finally admits that Annie found out Tsalo was pushing Silver Sky to pollute the environment of Ennis because it was aiding in the dissolution of the ice around the microorganism that was the key to saving the world. What did the Tsalo scientists do to Annie Kautok? Tsalo figured the deaths of the natives was a small price to pay to complete their work and potentially save more lives. However, he reveals that Annie destroyed Tsalo's research to put a stop to the deaths of the indigenous people of Ennis. When the scientists found out about this, they killed her. Clark didn't take part in the stabbing, but he was the one who suffocated her. Clark says it wasn't him who severed her tongue and claims it could have been Hank who did it to send out a warning to other protesters. Danvers leaves the room, with Navarro considering killing Clark, but she holds off. Navarro goes to find Danvers, and they discuss the Wheeler case, and Danvers admits she was ready to shoot him before Navarro stepped up and pulled the trigger. Danvers and Navarro return to interrogate Clark, and they ask him to explain the mystery surrounding the deaths of the Tsalo scientists. Clark tells them he thinks Annie's ghost did it. He tells them that the night it all happened, he ran to the ladder that led to the underground lab, closed the hatch, and held on. He heard his fellow scientists being murdered and claims a spirit tried to open the hatch he was holding onto. Clark makes further ridiculous claims about Annie being responsible for what originally happened to Otis Heiss and suggests time travel was possible. Danvers has had enough and decides to get some sleep. Before settling down, she finds Julia's necklace stuck in her hair. Elsewhere, Pete drives to Rose's place with the bodies. Danvers wakes up to discover Navarro has allowed Clark to walk into the cold and freeze to death. She is angry because Clark was the ultimate key to solving the bizarre case. Rose helps Pete get rid of the bodies by disposing of them under the ice and offers advice on how to deal with coping with what has happened. Danvers and Navarro get into an argument because Navarro claims something is calling her from the great beyond and she has met Danvers' dead son in the afterlife. Later on, Danvers exits the building and spots Navarro walking away into the distance. She seems to be hallucinating as she reaches out to someone. Danvers tries to get a hold of Navarro, but starts to crack the ice beneath her legs. Navarro pulls her out and saves her. The blizzard is coming down, and Navarro confides in Danvers about bottling up her feelings and not facing reality, similar to how Clark was holding down the hatch. This gives Danvers the idea to check for fingerprints on the hatch. She notices a unique imprint of a hand that didn't have all 5 fingers. What happens at the end of True Detective Season 4? Danvers and Navarro leave the station and head to see Beatrice and Blair Hartman. Beatrice says that she found out that Salo scientists killed Annie, and along with the rest of the Inupiat women, they went over there, kidnapped them, and made them walk into the icy, cold darkness. Danvers and Navarro tell Beatrice and her team that they're going to stick with the official story that the Salo men died under natural circumstances. The episode ends with the timeline moving forward to May. Danvers sits down for an interview with 2 detectives and tells a totally false story about Otis and Hank's deaths and Navarro's disappearance to protect her, and Pete Danvers also leaks Clark's confession video, which leads to the shutdown of Salo and Silver Sky Mining. Danvers and Leah enjoy a car ride together and appear to be on much better terms. We then see Danvers and Navarro on the porch of her house, relaxing. The episode review. The extended final episode of True Detective, Night Country does answer most of the important questions that were left hanging in the penultimate episode, while still leaving a few plot points dangling, but not in a totally unsatisfying way. Danvers and Navarro spend most of the episode at the Salo station, and the episode plays primarily like a two-hander between them, which works very well. It's a decent episode despite some strange moments that are inconsistent with the characters' aims. For example, Danvers gets annoyed when Navarro leaves Clark to die, despite giving her blessing for her to kill him earlier in the episode.